So we have that famous quote from Confucius. We've worked on imposter syndrome in the context of us going into today's topic, which is all around how you communicate, how you present yourself to the world. So we are all perfectly imperfect. That's what I always say. So no one is better at being you than you. But we are all different. We're human beings with different emotions, different DNA, different preferences. So when we're communicating, it's really important that we understand the people we're building a relationship with, and we're able to identify not only our own personality, style and preference, but also those around us, whether that's in a group setting or one-to-one. So let's look at a little bit around personalities and what does that mean? Well, when it comes to personalities, there's also the element of having high emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence, it builds relationships. When you can read the room, when you're able to sense an atmosphere or get a feeling for what's going on, you are relying on your emotional intelligence in order to do that. And that is made up of 4 elements. So again, we have a 4-box matrix. Okay, so along the top there, we have our self, which is internally around how we feel, and then socially, how we put ourselves out to the world. And then on the vertical axis, we have around recognition and regulation. Okay, so there's some detail there that you can just actually hone in, have a little read now, just press pause. But what we're talking about here is in the top left box, where we're looking at self and recognition. That's about self-awareness, you understanding yourself, because we have to understand ourselves if we are going to be able to communicate in the right way. And then we have on the top right-hand box, social awareness. So this is about recognizing what's going on externally, socially in the world around you. The bottom left, that's actually your self-management, your regulation. So where you regulate your emotions, maybe processing what's going on, thinking before you speak, that's also part of emotional intelligence. And then in the bottom right, we have that regulation with the social, and that's about relationship management. So this is so important when you're looking at how you improve your communication skills. And on the right hand side of the chart that you're looking at, that's an example of a personality profile using a tool called Luminous Spark. Now this is psychometric profiling that I use with my one-to-one clients, with the teams that I work with. If you are interested in learning more about that, absolutely drop me a message, because it will help you hugely. This is a very detailed personality assessment that we do. You get a 45-page report on that. It looks at your underlying personality, so how you are in a natural environment. It also looks at your everyday personality and how you show up. And then it looks at when you're overextended. So when you're stressed, what happens? So it's really powerful, both from an individual point of view, but also for your teams. And you can see it's based on colour energies of red, blue, green and yellow. So I'm not going to go into that in detail, but I just wanted to put it up there to show you that there are really powerful psychometric tools that are available to you. Luminous Spark is the one that I use professionally with my clients and with people that I work with more one-to-one, but it's also very open and available to you as well. So if you'd like to get involved with that, let me know and we can sort that out for you, but hugely powerful. So the combination of these two things, understanding our personality profile, but also in the context of emotional intelligence, really means that we have more tools in our toolbox to be able to communicate effectively. So let's move on then. So when it comes to kind of building rapport, as I say, Luminous Spark is based on different colour energies. Now, you don't have to have done Luminous Spark in order for this to make sense to you. So we tend to find that, and I'm going to just give a summarised view, but people that have a lot of green energy tend to be very focused on the people around them, the team. They like close relationships with individuals. They have that high emotional intelligence, will feel other people's stresses, etc. So a lot of green energy often sits in people that are very aware of other people's emotions. And how can you build rapport with people that have a lot of green energy? Well, there's lots of notes there on the slide for you to read through. You know, it's around being empathetic, being measured, quite intimate. They like small groups, etc. Being adaptable and flexible. So then when we look at people with a lot of yellow energy tends to be quite creative, big picture thinking, you know, problem solvers, artists, not just, but being creative in business, it doesn't mean just around being an artistic flair. So a lot of yellow energy can be around big picture thinking. And what's really important there is how you build rapport with someone that has a lot of yellow energy. You know, it's really around, they're probably, you know, allowing them, very social normally, quite demonstrative people, quite emotional, you know, they're very flexible, can sometimes be a little bit chaotic actually. So when you recognize this in people around you, you will start to think, oh, I think someone's probably got quite a lot of yellow energy in them. But as I say, if you're interested in doing a luminous spark, then this is going to help you go into more detail on that. So let's look at the other two color energies. So we have our blues. And again, everyone is unique and different. I am just giving you a very summarized general perspective here, but every single person's profile is different. So blue energy tends to be very structured, very detailed, very analytical, very reliable, can often be quite risk averse. You know, will look at all of the evidence, be quite cautious in their approach. You know, often you find a lot of finance professionals will have a lot of blue energy, which makes sense. They need a lot of detail, maybe engineers, that kind of profession. As I say, everyone's different, so you can't generalize, but just to give you a little bit of a sense. So that's the sort of the blue energy. And when you're dealing with people like that, when you're communicating, you know, you need to adapt because they like the detail. Whereas if you're talking to someone who's got a lot of yellow energy, they're the opposite to blue, right? They want big picture, they don't want the detail. So you have to be able to adjust accordingly. And then we have our red energy people. Reds tend to be very go, 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 quite demonstrative. They want to win. They're very focused on, you know, taking charge, quite often will be quite tough as well in terms of making decisions, quite logical. Competitive. Okay, so if you're going in to have a conversation with someone who's got a lot of red energy and maybe I've got a lot of green energy, it's how do you adapt, okay, to bring the best in the relationship? Because again, red and green tend to be opposite. So I'm just really bringing this to life for you because it helps when you're thinking about who you're communicating to and how you might need to adjust your perspective and approach.